The film begins with a dog barking incessantly at the door, as if sensing something unusual. The noise is due to someone attempting to pick the lock. Moments later, the door finally swings open, revealing that the dog had been trapped inside all day because of a faulty lock. The scene then introduces a young locksmith named Mady, who had been called by the homeowner to unlock the door. After completing his job, Mady sets off for home. However, on his way, he encounters a massive protest. Just 3 days prior, a police officer had shot a black activist, sparking outrage. As a result, the streets are filled with demonstrators, especially from the black community, demanding justice. Hours later, Mady finally reaches his rented apartment. Just as he arrives, his phone rings from a woman seeking his locksmith services. The woman then explains that her apartment door is locked and she cannot get inside. In response, Mady quickly notes her name and address before heading to her location. Upon arriving at the apartment, Mady meets the woman, whose name is Claire. Before proceeding with the job, he asks Claire to show her identification. Apparently, Mady has learned from past mistakes. 1 year ago, he had unknowingly helped a thief break into a house. During the conversation, Claire explains that her bag, including her ID, is inside the apartment. To prove her identity, she describes a distinctive item in her apartment, a black punching bag with a tear, something unlikely to be found in someone else's home. Fortunately, Mady believes her and starts working on the lock. Shortly after, Mady successfully unlocks the door. However, before stepping away, he asks Claire to retrieve her ID from inside. Claire nods, enters the apartment, and soon emerges carrying a plastic bag full of trash. She informs Mady that she needs to take out the garbage and withdraw cash from an ATM to pay him. In the end, Claire invites him to wait inside, mentioning that she has placed her ID on the table. Trusting her, Mady steps inside and waits. While looking around, Mady doesn't see her ID on the table, but his eyes land on the black punching bag with a tear, just as Claire had described. This reassures him that the apartment indeed belongs to her. Moments later, Mady receives a frantic call from Claire. Her voice is filled with panic as she urges him to leave the apartment immediately. Before he can react, a man enters the room. The man is a mafia enforcer named Seaman who immediately lunges at Mady and begins attacking him mercilessly. At one moment, Seaman tries to strangle him, intending to kill him on the spot. However, in a desperate struggle, Mady grabs a screwdriver and turns the tables. He fights back and ultimately kills the mafia enforcer. With Seaman lying lifeless on the floor, Mady is left in shock, unsure of what just transpired. His confusion deepens when Mady realizes that his phone was damaged during the struggle, preventing him from contacting Claire for answers. One thing is clear, he cannot afford to get caught. Desperate to avoid prison, he decides to clean up the scene before disappearing. Later, Mady heads to a nearby store to buy cleaning supplies. While there, he borrows the store owner's phone to try calling Claire, but her phone is already turned off. With no other option, he purchases the cleaning solution and makes his way back to the apartment, knowing he must act fast. At that moment, Mady was still in shock. He had never taken a life before, but now he had. However, before he could process it further, 2 of Seaman's mafia associates arrived, forcing Mady to hide behind a laundry basket. The 2 men were stunned to find their comrade dead, and even more so when they discovered that their boss's money, which had been hidden inside the torn punching bag, was missing. It was then revealed that Mady had been set up by Claire. The apartment didn't belong to Claire at all. It was Seaman's. Furthermore, the black plastic bag Claire had taken with her wasn't filled with trash, but rather the mafia boss's stolen money. One of the mafia members then found a bottle of cleaning solution, confirming their suspicion that the person responsible for Seaman's death was still nearby. As they searched the apartment, Mady saw an opportunity and bolted for his car. Unfortunately, his car wouldn't start, and before he could escape, he was captured. Mady was taken to the mafia headquarters, where he was confronted by their boss, Yannick. During the interrogation, Yannick demanded to know where his money was and why Mady had dared to steal from him. In panic, Mady swore he had no knowledge of the money and that he had been framed. He explained everything from the beginning, emphasizing that he was nothing more than a locksmith caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. However, Yannick didn't believe him and decided to torture him brutally. As Mady lay on the brink of death, Yannick asked once more if he was ready to tell the truth. Mady, desperate to survive, nodded immediately. As a result, Yannick ordered his men to remove the tape covering Mady's mouth. The moment he could speak, Mady swore once again that he was telling the truth. He insisted that Claire was the real culprit who had stolen the money, while he was merely a locksmith who had been manipulated. For the first time, Yannick considered the possibility that Mady was telling the truth. One of his most trusted men, Theo, then asked Mady for Claire's description. As Mady provided details, Theo realized that Claire matched the description of a woman frequently seen with Seaman. However, there was a problem. Seaman had a habit of frequently changing partners. Ultimately, Yannick ordered Theo and another subordinate to take Mady to a brothel that Seaman often visited, hoping Mady could identify the woman who had stolen the money. Before they left, Yannick presented a crucial piece of evidence, the screwdriver Mady had used to kill Seaman. He warned Mady that if he attempted to escape, both the mafia and the police would hunt him down. With that, Theo and his associate took Mady to the brothel as instructed. During the journey, Theo warned Mady never to cross their group again. While speaking, Theo briefly unlocked his phone, an action that Mady noticed but said nothing about. Upon arriving at the brothel, Theo ordered his associate to escort Mady through the establishment to find a woman responsible, while he waited outside. Room by room, Mady searched, but Claire was nowhere to be found. Then, an unexpected complication arose. A police officer inside the brothel became suspicious of their presence and confronted Theo's associate, leading to a violent altercation. As Mady attempted to leave, he accidentally overheard Theo on a phone call. To his shock, Theo was speaking to Claire. It became clear Theo and Claire had been working together all along to steal the money. Just then, a loud crash interrupted the conversation. The police officer had fallen from above, and Theo suddenly realized that Mady had been listening in the entire time. Without hesitation, Theo ordered his associate to move the officer's body inside, while instructing Mady to stay put upstairs. After the officer's body was moved, Theo instructed his partner to wait in the car while he went to find Mady in an attempt to continue searching for Claire. However, Theo had no intention of working together. He planned to eliminate Mady, knowing that he had discovered everything. Meanwhile, Mady barely managed to escape, and in the struggle, both of them tumbled down into the parking lot. Fortunately, Mady landed on top, allowing him to quickly regain his footing. Seizing the opportunity, he grabbed Theo's phone and dashed away from the scene. But Theo wasn't down for long. He quickly recovered and launched in a pursuit once again. Mady managed to grab a bicycle, desperately pedaling away while Theo fired shots in an attempt to stop him. However, Mady narrowly escaped, disappearing into the night. Shortly after, Theo returned to the hideout with his partner. There, he borrowed his partner's phone and called Yannick. He fabricated a story, claiming that Mady had attacked him and tried to flee, forcing him to open fire. Unfortunately, Mady had still managed to get away, but Theo assured Yannick that he wouldn't stop until he found him. Yannick, unimpressed, ordered Theo to track down Mady immediately. Meanwhile, Mady had taken refuge in a hidden location, clutching Theo's stolen phone. Remembering the phone's unlock pattern, he easily accessed it and immediately searched for Yannick's number to expose the truth. However, the contact wasn't there. At that moment, Claire suddenly sent a message to Theo's phone, asking where he was. Thinking quickly, Mady replied, pretending to be Theo, and arranged to meet at a nightclub. He also instructed Claire to bring all her money. Believing it was really Theo messaging, Claire agreed without hesitation and said she would arrive in 30 minutes. Not long after, Mady positioned himself on a quiet street leading to the nightclub, waiting for Claire to arrive. When she finally appeared, he discreetly followed her. Just as Mady was about to take action, a group of protesters suddenly surrounded him, urging him to join their demonstration. As it turns out, a massive protest was taking place that night. Knowing this, Mady declined, explaining that he had urgent business. But by the time he turned back to Claire, she had already slipped inside the nightclub. Determined, Mady approached the entrance but was immediately stopped by the club's security. This venue was exclusive to members, and Mady had no membership card. Thinking fast, he claimed to be a plumber sent to fix a toilet issue. Luckily, the guards believed him and allowed him inside. Once inside, Mady spotted Claire waiting at the bar. He sent her a message, instructing her to meet him in the back storage room. Moments later, Claire headed toward the storage room as requested, but just as she stepped inside, her phone rang. It was a call from Theo, using an unfamiliar number. His voice on the other end was urgent. He warned her that he had lost his phone and that she shouldn't trust anyone. Realization struck Claire. She was being set up. But before she could react, Mady suddenly appeared, seizing her and tying her to a chair. With a cold, determined expression, he demanded to know where she had hidden the money she had stolen. Unfortunately, Claire admitted that she didn't have the money with her. Hearing this, Mady anxiously explained that if he didn't get the money, his life would be in danger. Yannick, the ruthless mafia boss, would have him eliminated. Shocked by the revelation, Claire quickly apologized, insisting that she never intended to deceive Mady. However, Mady was already consumed with frustration and, in a fit of rage, struck Claire's hand with a hammer. Yet, seeing her in pain, Claire was overcome with guilt and immediately tended to Mady's wounded hand. As the tension subsided, a deeper truth emerged. Claire's real name was Julia, and she had stolen the money out of desperation, hoping to save her brother, Theo, from Yannick's grasp. It was revealed that Theo wanted to leave the mafia, but Yannick would never let him go. With no other choice, Julia proposed a plan. She and Theo would steal all of Yannick's money, ensuring not only their escape but also Yannick's downfall. Stripped of his wealth, Yannick would lose his power. Shortly after, a sudden knock on the warehouse door sent a wave of panic through them. Without hesitation, Mady covered Julia's mouth, fearing the worst. They quickly realized that the visitor was none other than Theo. Desperate, Mady begged Julia to keep his presence a secret. He promised that if Theo stopped hunting him, he in turn would not expose Theo's betrayal to Yannick. Taking a deep breath, Julia opened the door. Theo eyed her suspiciously and asked why she had taken so long. Thinking quickly, Julia explained that she had panicked and dropped her phone. Seizing the opportunity, she pleaded with Theo to stop chasing Mady and instead focus on escaping before Yannick discovered their plan. After a tense pause, Theo finally agreed. They arranged to meet at the train station at 6 a.m. the next day. Their destination, Amsterdam, a place far from Yannick's reach. To set the plan in motion, Theo escorted Julia to a bus so she could retrieve the stolen money. During this time, he planned to return to the mafia headquarters to avoid raising suspicion. However, instead of heading back to the headquarters, Theo made his way to the nightclub, determined to hunt down Mady once and for all. On the other hand, Mady was preparing to make his escape when he was stopped by a security guard. The guard, remembering that Mady had posed as a plumber earlier, ordered him to fix a leaking pipe in the kitchen. Reluctantly, Mady complied, but just as he was finishing the job, Theo appeared, cornering him. With a solemn expression, Theo apologized. He had no choice but to eliminate Mady. Just as Theo was about to strike, Mady saw an opening and made a run for it. A high-stakes chase ensued, leading Mady into the midst of a large protest. Spotting his injuries, the protesters immediately asked if he was all right. Thinking fast, Mady pointed at Theo and accused him of being a police officer who had just beaten him. Enraged, the crowd turned on Theo, surrounding him. Forced to react, Theo fired his gun into the air, scattering the protesters. But the chase wasn't over. With unwavering determination, Theo continued his relentless pursuit. He would not stop until Mady was captured. At one moment, Mady broke through the police barricade, forcing the officers to arrest him. Meanwhile, Theo, who witnessed the scene, chose to avoid trouble by walking in the opposite direction. Unfortunately, he too was stopped by the police. Panicked, Theo attempted to flee, but he was quickly apprehended as well. As for Mady, he was set to be taken to the police station in a patrol car. Before being escorted away, a senior officer stepped forward to examine his face. After a brief glance, the officer allowed the arrest to proceed without interference. Once inside the police vehicle, Mady realized that he and Theo had been placed in the same car. Unexpectedly, The senior officer who had inspected Mady turned out to be an associate of Yannick. Without hesitation, he informed Yannick that the person he had been searching for was now being transported to the police station. During the ride, Mady and Theo exchanged wary glances, both astonished at their shared situation. 30 minutes into the journey, their police transport was suddenly struck from the side. The impact came from Yannick's group, who had staged the ambush. However, they were caught off guard when they saw Theo inside as well. Wasting no time, they swiftly extracted both Mady and Theo and took them to their hideout. Before long, Mady found himself face-to-face with Yannick again. At that moment, Yannick wasted no time in interrogating him, demanding to know why he had tried to escape and whether he had secured the money that belonged to him. Mady was instantly thrown into turmoil. If he revealed Theo's involvement, his companion would surely be executed. But if he remained silent, he himself would bear the consequences. To make matters worse, Theo seized the opportunity to turn the situation against Mady, hoping Yannick would dispose of him instead. In a desperate move, Mady pointed the finger at Theo, claiming that he was the mastermind behind the stolen money. Yannick was skeptical at first, prepared to eliminate Mady on the spot. But Mady quickly suggested checking Theo's phone and looking at the most recent gallery files. When Yannick's men accessed Theo's phone, they found a recorded conversation between him and his younger sibling, captured inside the warehouse. The recording revealed their plan to escape to Amsterdam at 6 o'clock the following morning. With the truth now exposed, Yannick wasted no time. He taped Theo's mouth shut and ensured his demise in a gruesome manner. Mady felt a deep pang of guilt, though indirectly. He had sealed Theo's fate by revealing the truth to Yannick. Afterward, Yannick turned to Mady and, to his surprise, thanked him for the information. He assured Mady that he would be set free under one condition. He must disappear and never return. Escorted by Yannick's men, Mady was led to his car. As he sat inside, ready to leave, he took a moment to reflect. The events that had unfolded were beyond anything he had ever imagined. He had become entangled with a ruthless mafia. However, before driving away, a chilling realization struck him. Julia, also known as Theo's sister, was still in danger. Yannick and his men would undoubtedly come after her, knowing that she was in possession of the stolen money. Summoning his courage, Mady made a fateful decision. Instead of fleeing, he turned the car toward the station. He had to save Julia, no matter the cost. In the end, Mady was driving recklessly, drawing the attention of the police, who quickly began pursuing him. The scene shifts to Yannick and his men, who were already stationed near the train station, waiting for their target. Moments later, Julia appeared, prompting Yannick to instruct his men to follow her. On the other hand, Mady continued his desperate attempt to evade the police. However, his reckless driving led to a disastrous crash, flipping his car over. As the police approached the wreck, they were stunned to find that Mady had already escaped. He was now sprinting towards the train station, with the police still hot on his heels. Back at the station, Yannick's men trailed Julia, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Their plan was simple: eliminate her and retrieve the stolen money. Just as one of Yannick's men was about to make his move, Mady spotted Julia and called out to her. His voice caught the attention of the police, who immediately opened fire on him. The gunshots disrupted Yannick's men, causing them to abandon their attempt on Julia's life. At the same time, Mady collapsed, wounded and helpless. The surrounding crowd quickly reacted, recording the incident and protesting the unjust shooting. Outrage spread as people accused the police of racial bias. Another black man had been shot, echoing the very injustices protested the night before. The demonstration had called out law enforcement's racism, and now it had happened again. In the film's final moments, Julia is seen safe, boarding a train bound for Amsterdam. Meanwhile, Mady, against all odds, survives his injuries, marking the end of the story. Moral lesson from the story: if a stranger asks you to unlock their door but can't show ID, just walk away, because helping them might lead to you fighting a mafia's member with a screwdriver. Also, if you're a locksmith, maybe just stick to fixing locks and not solving mysteries. It's cheaper and less deadly.